Tanks. Now a very well-known part of the infinite saga of warfare. Armored beasts of destruction. They came into the fold back in World War I, with pretty much every country involved trying to make the best one, though the technology was limited back then. The most successful tanks of the war were probably the British Mark tanks, though the French had a couple decent ones, and the Germans fielded one that, well, it was pretty hard to kill, but it also was slow, and yeah, it didn't do so well. But we're not talking about any of those. What about us? Over here. In America. Well, as doubtless some of you are probably aware, when it comes to World War I, we really weren't involved until the very, very end. The only thing we did during the majority was both try to stay out of it, as well as sell the British and the French stuff. We did that a lot. But in terms of actually joining the war, that wouldn't happen until way later. And we were pretty behind on the whole tank thing. Which is interesting because a lot of the technology that the British and the French used to make their tanks was based off of stuff that we made. Our tractors, for example, were a big part of their designs. But either way, the point is, we hadn't really caught up. We would, but we hadn't caught up at the time. But in 1918, we did attempt a few designs, and one sticks out, one more than any other in my personal opinion. One that I feel the need to discuss. Behold! The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers Steam Tank! Oh yeah! Precision American engineering. And you're probably looking at this saying, wait a minute, wait, that's just a British Mark tank. And, okay, first of all, shut up. Second of all, it was based on the design of the British Mark IV tank specifically. The overall shape is similar. It differs in some spots, but yes, they were looking at that when they were designing this thing. And that was mostly because the early tanks especially had to keep trench warfare in mind. If they were gonna be able to field them at all, they had to be able to get over the trenches. And the British Mark design was pretty good at doing that, so yes, we did somewhat copy it. However, beyond superficial similarities, our steam tank is really nothing like the Mark tanks at all. This thing is ridiculous. Frankly, it's also kinda awesome, but ridiculous. The tank was rather large, weighing 50 tons, and provided a crew with the protection of armor that was a half-inch thick. She was designed by an officer from the U.S. Army's Corps of Engineers, and the project was started by one General John A. Johnson. They got help from the Endicott and Johnson Shoe Company. Yes, really. And the project would be financed by bankers located in Boston, Fallon and Rachesky, costing a total of $60,000 US at the time. That's over $1,300,000 in today's money. And I bet you're wondering, wait, so why do they call it a steam tank? Well, that's because this is a steam-powered tank. It uses the power of steam, you fools! This is an ultimate steampunk creation. They got help from the Stanley Motor Carriage Company in Watertown, Massachusetts, because they produce steam-driven cars. And in order to propel this beast, she utilized two-cylinder steam engines, providing her with a total of 500 horsepower, which actually would have been pretty powerful at the time, because the reason they went with steam at all is that steam was much more developed than internal combustion engines back then. The thought was that steam would provide much more power to move such a heavy vehicle, and therefore she'd be able to go faster, actually get up hills, and overall be better. They wouldn't have to worry about her being underpowered, even though she was still pretty underpowered. She could only move 4 miles per hour. Tops. And that was on level terrain. So already we're not off to a good start in terms of the movement thing. But that was why they went with steam. She was 34 feet 9 inches long, 12 feet 6 inches wide, and 10 feet 4.5 inches high. And you're probably wondering about the little horn things? Like, why does she look so friggin' scary? Like, those rams? No. Those are actually rather innocent in their function. Those are mud clearing spikes, meant to knock off mud and debris that would get stuck to the treads as the tank moved around a battlefield. Which is actually not a bad thought to put those on, to be honest, but yes, it did give her a bit of a more intimidating appearance than she otherwise would have. Although she would be intimidating all on her own because she's a tank. But yeah, that's what those are. And I have been deliberately avoiding the armament discussion because you're probably wondering, okay, she's a tank and she can move and she's steam powered, she's pretty slow, but what does she shoot? She's got guns? Yes, she did. Her secondary armament consisted of 4 machine guns located on her sponsons. And the primary armament was a friggin' flamethrower! Why? Why the flamethrower? That's what we went with? We didn't give her a cannon, no. No, we're gonna give her a flamethrower. And that was also the other reason they went with the steam. See, a flamethrower also requires pressure in order to function, so it was thought that the steam engines could be also used to power the flamethrower on top of moving the vehicle around. However, it was revealed that not only was there barely enough power to move her in general, but there certainly wasn't any extra to actually use for the flamethrower. So she actually had an auxiliary gasoline engine just for that. Now, the flamethrower did work, shooting flame up to about 90 feet, and she was intended as kind of a breakthrough tank. The flamethrower was meant for pillboxes. They'd already been proven effective against them, and this way they could just mount it on the tank, and there you go, just spray fire into the enemy's face. They won't appreciate it, but that's the point. This is war, dang it. And this is America. With fire! It was constructed in Boston and demonstrated in April of 1918. She even took part in some parades in order to build public support for the war. Though she really was very much a flawed design. She actually broke down pretty often, at least once in front of crowds during a parade. Despite her impressive appearance and the technological innovations, at the same time, she really was not very good. They probably could have worked out the kinks. Again, this was all new territory for us in America. Heck, it was still pretty new territory for everyone else building tanks. She even broke down into her own christening in front of a gathering of public officials and Army and Navy officers. She was named America. Yes, she had a name, America. And America managed to stall on the Cambridge Bridge due to a misadjustment of her mechanism. They never really managed to work out all the kinks with her, but to be fair, they didn't have much time to do so. What happened was, she was shipped to France for trials, and that was because the US Tank Commission at the time was based in Paris. And they had a strict rule that they wouldn't accept any tank for operational service with US forces until they had personally seen it and tested it. So she had to be sent over there. Details are pretty scant regarding her fate after that. In the end, she was never accepted, though the reasoning seems to be more down to the fact that the war ended before she was properly developed. And instead, we would for a time construct license-built foreign tank designs, till eventually settling on our own, but that did take about a decade or so for that to really start happening. As for our steam tank, well, it's not known what happened to her. It's thought she may have just kicked around until maybe the 1930s before finally being scrapped. But sadly, yes, she's long gone, which is a shame, because while being a failure, she would have been really cool in a museum. In truth, even if she had functioned properly, and as cool as she may be, using steam power for a tank probably was never going to be a good idea. Mostly because we're talking about steam here, and steam requires pressure in order to work. And tanks are built to get shot at, and if one bullet happens to penetrate the armor, and then the steam boiler... Do you see the problem here? Tanks, especially early ones, already had enough of a risk when it came to enemy fire hitting, their shells that they carry inside them for the cannon, because those can blow up and kill everybody. Adding a steam boiler on top of it was just asking for trouble too. But again, she didn't work properly anyway. so she probably would never have been all that great on the battlefield. But again, I would have liked to see her in a museum, because I think, for all her flaws, she's pretty friggin' cool. Till next time, this is Darkness, and the bid you all a fun farewell.